For today's look, I want to play again with my Coastal palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics, given to me by a subscriber. And I have a palette pull-in. This is Margarita from Glamlight, also given to me by a subscriber because you guys are awesome. My palette pull-in is this shade right here. It's called Melon. I don't think it's going to be a difficulty to include this in today's look. So I will prime my eyes with the Glamlight Icing Primer and get into it. I actually want to start with blush. This is the Spring Magic blush palette from Unearthly Cosmetics. My whole palette is hard pan. That might be why the seller got rid of it for such a low price. I paid $8 on MERCARI, but I don't actually mind that it's hard pan. Now, let me be clear. It's not completely unusable. I can swatch and get color. There is color, but it's pretty hard pan. And for me, for blush, that's not the end of the world because I use very little. I don't apply a heavy blush. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a buildable formula. In actuality, I have no idea, but this for me is buildable. I can dip in, put on some, decide if I want to put on some more. Today I might play with this reddish shade called Balefire here. I don't have a firm plan of my eye look. And so I'm not entirely sure what color blush to use, but I just felt like putting some on. I also threw on a little bit of the Star Surfer highlighter from Kaleidos. Okay, so as far as today's eyeshadow look, mainly I want to use the Coastal palette. I think specifically I want to play with these shades right here. That's going to work really easily with my palette pull-in, which is pretty close actually to this shade. But now I'm looking at it, I don't know. I think I'll stick with my original plan. I think I will. This shade's looking awfully pretty. Okay, let me start in with the mattes and I'll build up from there. I might go a little bit more on the neutral greeny side of things with the mattes, and then I'll swatch the shimmers and see how they fit in. I'm gonna start with a Singe EO2. I'm gonna grab the shade Shell and the shade Warm Sand and kind of put them together and put this in my crease. Not my full crease. I think I'll leave some space over here for a different color, perhaps my palette pull-in. And I apologize right now for my lighting. I can already see that it's kind of shadowy. My ring light is broken, thanks to toddlers, and I haven't been able to replace it, and I just work in front of a window, but it's overcast today, so my lighting is not amazing today. Hopefully you guys will be able to get enough. I actually want to talk today about a phrase that I heard recently, and it implanted itself in my brain, and I thought it was great. I don't remember if I've heard it before, but what the guy said was, do the next right thing. And that really stuck with me. The next right thing, not the next convenient thing, the next comfortable thing, the next best thing. He said, do the next right thing. And in the context, he was talking, like he was counseling somebody, giving advice for whatever situation they were facing. But he said, okay, well, you know, you've made mistakes. We are human. We screw up, we fail, we make terrible decisions or have lapses in judgment. Each of us is faced at any given moment with another choice. Okay, this is the new reality. Where do I go from here? And it could be the tiniest choice. It could be a big choice. Sometimes we're planning our lives and we're looking in advance. Okay, what am I working towards? Or what's a really big mistake that I've made and I'm trying to clean it up, you know, deal with the fallout from that basically. And there are, of course, a billion variables, right? But the one thing that is constant is the fact that we have to make a choice. And I loved this concept of doing the next right thing. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's not what you want to do, it's still the right thing. And I think that that's such an integrity move, like such an integrity perspective. I'm going to deepen a little bit with Palms and Coastal. I'm just sort of combining shades today, I guess. Palms and Coastal. Now this palette doesn't go super deep. The deepest shade is kind of a navy teal sort of color. It doesn't go as deep as I'd like, but I'll get some contrast. Anyway, what do you guys think about that concept? Like I said, I think it's an integrity move to just align your brain with this concept of doing the right thing. Might not be convenient, might not be comfortable, might not be easy, but it's still right. And to have our moral compass sort of trained towards, okay, even when I screw up, because I will, I just kind of get back on track. What's the next right thing? I loved it. I loved that so much. And I would love to hear your thoughts too, because I know that, you know, when I do these little monologue kinds of videos, I'm just talking to a camera, but it's so valuable to see what you guys have to say in the comments. And I appreciate it always when you take the time to write down your thoughts or your perspective. Sometimes I realize maybe I was wrong or I had a very narrow view of my topic, whatever it was. Sometimes I realize that I've been able to encourage you as a viewer, and that is really important to me because, you know, I've been reflecting lately what I get from YouTube. Like, this is kind of a video diary for me. I'm careful about personal information, but it's a place for me to express myself creatively and talk about my feelings or what's happening in life, right? I don't get a monetary compensation for YouTube. I'm not monetized yet. I could be potentially, but it's not there yet. And my channel is just really slowly growing, which is fine. It's fine. There can be, I mean, I've got a pretty streamlined process at this point, but I've been fighting lately with technology. My phone is my recording device. It's getting a little older, and the app that I'd used for editing from the beginning has been really weird on me lately, and all of a sudden it's not downloading my videos correctly, or it tricks me and it downloads them correctly, but then it doesn't upload them to YouTube correctly. It's just been really weird. So I had to get a new app and learn a whole new editing process and try to, like, it's just more work on my end now than it ever has been before. Maybe it's because my phone is getting older and I've deleted and uninstalled and reinstalled the app so many times, lost footage, had to go back and find all my old favorites so that I could get back to my streamlined process and just, you know, inserting the favorite effects or sounds or music or whatever. It's been a frustrating thing lately, and I think that is one of the things, along with just life in general sometimes, but one of the things that made me a little bit more weary. Like, I'm putting a lot of work into this, so it's especially encouraging to me when I know that my viewers are finding value. Like, it's not just me talking to a camera. You guys are taking the time to listen to what I have to say, and maybe you're feeling encouraged, maybe you're feeling seen, maybe you're getting some tips or ideas about something, maybe you're feeling like you have a place to share and chat in the comments, and, you know, we can all kind of meet in this platform and talk about a common interest. That's just encouraging to me. Okay, now let's swatch these shimmers. The two I was thinking about are Paradise and Serene. And I do have a palette pull-in as well. What's going on with my shirt? They would both be fine with my shirt. I really like those two today. The other one that I wasn't sure about was Sunbathe, which is lovely, but that's actually pretty. I mean, it would be pretty monochromatic. It would be pretty, but it would be quite monochromatic. I don't know, maybe I'll include it somewhere, but let me first do my palette pull-in so that I can incorporate that. Shade is called Melon from the Margarita palette. I'm just gonna put it right here. I don't think I want to go crazy with this. Like, I think I just want it to be a little pop there. I don't want to carry it all the way through. It's okay. I think I've done something like this recently. It's not exactly what I wanted to do, but I did want to include the palette pull-in, so that'll be fine. So I'm gonna take the shade Paradise, this one, and put this starting at my inner corner because it will lead in beautifully to that palette pull-in shade. And keep it a little light. That's such a pretty shade. I had actually bought possibly all 6 of these shimmers over Black Friday when Simply Posh was selling them for $1 a piece as singles. And then I got this palette given to me and I was like, oh, well, that's great. So I gave them to my daughter. The singles I gave to my daughter. Okay, now I will take Serene, which is the other one I was looking at. Ooh, hello. That would be a pretty one and done, wouldn't it? Oh, and now it's making this blue-green shade feel a lot more yellow. How interesting. I just love the way the colors play. Bring it up a little higher just for fun. I think that's really pretty. Ooh, and the sun's coming out. Did you notice? Do I have better lighting now? One final thought when I was talking about the editing and uploading frustrations. Back into Island, I think. And just put this on the lower lash line. The other thought was, you may have noticed a decline or drop in my video quality. That was part of this whole struggle, because when I realized that the software was uploading to YouTube, then YouTube was like not accepting the file format very nicely, and it would like totally screw up all the colors. Then I would go back to the photos file in my phone and take that video and try to tweak and edit the saturation or whatever to change that final effect but then it was still skewing it in the opposite direction. So I had probably half a dozen videos, maybe a little bit more, that were just not uploaded well. And I was also having problems with the audio where sometimes it was lagging. Some of those I caught and was able to try to fix. One or two sort of slipped by me, and then it was like already published and people had already commented, and I don't want to delete videos after people have watched and commented, because then I lose that entire interaction. You know, once in a while I'll delete a video if it hasn't been viewed yet, and then I try to upload it in a better format. But if it's already gone live, I really don't like to do that. So I usually will put a pinned comment like, hey, I'm so sorry, just realized it was having these technical difficulties. Anyway, it's just been frustrating. And so if I can know, dipping into paradise again, if I can know that the work and the effort that I'm putting in is actually beneficial, a blessing to someone else, then that's encouraging to me. I'm gonna pick up Sunbathe because I just can't not. It's just so pretty. I've got it on the same flat type brush that I've been using on my lower lash line, and I'm gonna put it kind of here along where I just put Paradise, the lower lash line, middle half or so. And I'm not trying to smudge it around or rub it in because it's mainly sparkles. It's not glitter, but it's mainly sparkles, and so they're sort of flying away. So this is the situation and the brush with which I would just tap. And that's it. Maybe, hang on. I think my outer corner space, I just wish that I had something darker here. I could go into any other palette. They're like 50 over there. I could go into any other palette and get a darker shade. Maybe I'll take a Whisper of Deep Sea, which is that dark teal I mentioned. Oh, it's so blue though. I did not want to go so blue. Okay, I worked away a lot of that blue by rubbing it in and mixing it around with the browns. I really didn't want this to go blue, so I dipped into it to get the depth, and now I'm smushing it around to try to neutralize it a bit with the more neutral tones that are already there. Anyway, that's the look. I'm gonna go off camera and do the other side, and I'll be right back to close out today's video. Okay, this is the look. Now it's all done. To finish off, I just did two other things. Well, three, I guess. I tried to use this color in my waterline. It's this Fade Away from ColourPop, but like many of my creme gel liners, it's finally too dry to use, so I'm gonna have to toss it. Instead, I used my old favorite Two Can Do It, beautiful metallic marigold. Love the shade, and it performed beautifully. I have mascara on, and then on my lips, I've been wearing this NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Bit of Honey, and that's everything else. Everything I'm wearing or using is linked below in the description box. So, final thoughts on today's look. I love it. I think it's so pretty. I just love the Simply Posh shimmers. Man, they're pretty. They're so sparkly and lightweight, which is formula for success as far as I'm concerned, but they're also shifting. I mean, not one of these shimmers is just one color. And I'm really surprised by that blue shimmer on the inner corner that I paired with my palette Poland, really, because in the pan it looks quite bluey, and then on the finger it looks like a blue-green, but once I laid it on the eye, paired with the other colors, the other shimmers, the other mattes, everything else that was going on in my skin tone, I guess, it looks really green gold, and it's so pretty. I love the look. Love the look. Very happy with this palette overall. I mean, this is definitely my second or maybe more, I don't remember. This is my second time filming, I think, with this palette. I think I've used it besides that, but I can't remember. Anyway, really happy with it. It's lovely. And I think as far as Simply Posh goes, although I like their color stories a lot, I think that usually they don't go deep enough. I feel like they need a little bit more contrast in their palettes overall. I had the citrus, I was gonna say Simply. I previously had the Citrus Punch palette, which was lovely, but had almost no depth, and that was my qualm with it. And I think that this one, this Coastal, is actually, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good balance. I do want it to go a little darker. Honestly, just one. Give me one dark brown matte, because that would deepen all of the other colors in the palette. It would work with the blue greens, it would work with the grays, it would work with the pinky tones and the brownie shades. It would work with everything. But instead I had to use the dark blue matte on top of these browns to give myself a little bit more depth. And even that wasn't a lot, and it did tend to lean the look a little more blue. So that would be me picking the palette apart a bit. I'm going to be including that in my next ranking, so, you know, formulating my thoughts. But anyway, I think the look is really, really pretty, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I do have a Simply Posh playlist, which I will link in the description box. I'll card it up here if I remember, and I hope that you will consider liking and subscribing before you go if you enjoyed today's content and you want to see more. And of course, I would love to hear your thoughts as well about this concept of doing the next right thing, the next integrity move, the next proof of character. That's what we're going for. That's the moral compass upon which I want to stay. I want to stay pointed in the right direction, even when I mess up and even when I have a big mistake, and get back on course to the next right thing. Thank you for being here. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and I look forward to chatting with you next time.